still currently circling now, surrounding United, bringing in a new striker this summer. We had Sesko's agent parading around Old Trafford last year, and that's because we are really left now with just Hojlund as our only first-team striker, if you're not talking about some of the youth product. Martial's contract has ended, so he's going to be leaving. Any excuse to play this goal, though.
Isolated. Skirtle here. Oh, yes!
But in this video, I want to take a look at whether United in Hojlund do have their main starting number 9 of the future, or whether United need to go back to the drawing board. There's been a lot to talk about Rasmus Hojlund throughout the course of this season, and it's not just been about his dance moves. Many have been debating whether he has what it takes to be United's main number 9 going into the next few seasons, no matter who the manager's going to be. Sky Sports have been quick to compare him to all the other strikers in the league, and on the face of things, he hasn't had a bad first season at all. In today's video, I want to take a look at Hojlund's first season and really assess whether he's got what it takes now to be United's main number 9 of the future. As always, guys, drop a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new around here, and let's get into it.
Okay, let's go.
So first off, guys, I want to talk about the expectations of him. And first of all, we never expected him to be leading the line as he has done this season. And I don't think it was Ten Hag's plan either. I do think Ten Hag really did highly rate Martial. The way he talks about his squad, the way he talks regularly about missing Martial for large parts. But obviously it's poor planning from him and the board, because to rely on Martial to be fit for more than 2 minutes is really optimistic recently. Like, the guy even gets injured during his speech, for Christ's sake. But I don't think we really expected the return in minutes to be this bad this season, and it's led Hojlund to play the majority of games, despite obviously lacking a lot of experience and being a very young player. Because it did leave us just with him as our only striker, really. Like, yes, Rashford can play there, but it's never going to be the main position for Rashford. He does lack a lot of stuff that you want as a starting striker. His play with his back towards goal is virtually non-existent. So you've got to heavily change the way you play with Rashford up there. You've got to start hitting balls obviously over the top of the defence, getting him using his pace. Very different to what Hojlund can bring you, even though Hojlund can do that as well. But Hojlund in that hold-up play, he just gives you that whole other dimension. But it's not just obviously Hojlund being a young player. Really what he did lack was experience. Because yes, obviously he's a young player, but there's many other players around Europe younger than Hojlund that have played a lot more minutes than him. But it's in terms of the experience where he was really lacking, because he came to United with just one full season of professional football. So United were really signing potential, but the way people were talking about him as if we were expecting him to score 30 goals this season. In return, he gave us 15 goals in all comps throughout the course of the season. That's a very good return. For me, he's really met expectations. And now onto the tactical side of things and everything surrounding Hojlund in that sense. And to tell you all you need to know regarding the tactics, I'm going to go back to that Sky Sports graphic from earlier on. Like, Hojlund did eventually finish the Prem campaign with 10 goals. But what's more interesting is our shots per 90. Less than 2. Like, it all indicates that lack of service into him. And it's that shot conversion has really saved his season. In an earlier game up against Burnley at Old Trafford, Hojlund received the most passes from Onana in that game. A massive total of 4. Like, it all again just indicates that lack of service, and he's making runs consistently, yet is very rarely found, and he's doing exactly what you want your striker to do for me. It's just a complete lack of service into him. I just hope he doesn't get discouraged, because he's done well considering the little amount of attempts that he's had on goal. The truth is, this United team is stale as dishwater in possession. They rely heavily on Bruno's hero ball, although people don't like to admit that, because that's been one of Ten Hag's main tactics this season. That's how Ten Hag wants Bruno Fernandes to play. And we're also relying on that individual brilliance to get us the goals. Another thing the fans don't like to admit, obviously after they painted Ole with that brush for so long during his tenure, the amount of goal of the months we've had is testament to that this season. The moral of the story is that getting the ball into good positions for our striker hasn't been a strong point for United all season long, and Hojlund has suffered because of that. United were one of the worst teams at getting crosses into the box this season, and obviously having shot-heavy wingers has hindered the supply into Hojlund. We've largely used him as an old-school sort of target man, and while he's done okay in that sense, it's never going to be a major strength of his. I really do hope we can continue to improve into next season now and start to get more crosses in there and use those runs that Hojlund is doing so often. It's going to be a main thing now, no matter who the manager is going into next season. Because that then brings me on to talk a little bit more about his movement. And obviously that tactical side of things, I said it. So Hojlund's movement for me is top. And is a part of his game that I love. When you watch him closely, he's always showing for the ball and he's always making runs in and around that 6-yard box. So many people talk about strikers obviously having that willingness to get in those positions and get in the places you need to be. And Hojlund does that for me. It's just the service into him a lot of the time. It was something I spoke about before he joined and it's something I kept going on about when he was at United. Because during his spell at Atalanta, he was making those runs and obviously the team was more tailored towards him. But despite the criminal lack of service for United now, he's still showing for those crosses regularly. He's doing exactly what he'd want. As I've said, I just hope he doesn't get discouraged. And also, he can run the channels as well and shows great pace for a big fella. But again, it's something we haven't seen enough of this season. Overall, at the moment, I think he's done very well. In terms of the movement, in terms of fitting that style of play. But United just need to simply feed him more. And next, on to Hojlund's finishing. Obviously, going to be a main part of any starting striker. And at first, he did seem very raw and he couldn't buy a goal at the start of the season. But once that confidence came from getting that first goal, it really showed. And I think his finishing was very, very solid. And he showed very solid finishing ability throughout the course of the season. Once again, that shot conversion ratio that he's shown in the Prem is just testament to that. He's shown recently in games up against Newcastle and Brighton. Obviously, the ability to strike the ball really well with his weaker foot. There's no doubt, obviously, that he needs to add a little bit of finesse to his game. But even the top strikers, obviously, like Hojlund, miss a lot of chances. So in terms of Hojlund, the shot conversion he's had this season, I've got little worries in that regard. And next, on to the holder play. Now the ability to hold the play up in today's game is just massive. With many teams looking to press and not just the very top teams these days, so you need your starting striker to be able to hold the ball up to evade that press. So while Hojlund has shown a decent ability to hold the ball up and obviously bring other players into the game, it's without doubt an area that he needs to improve on. Sometimes he's a little bit too eager to battle with a centre-back rather than just playing the ball, and some refs have been more lenient than others in terms of that. And obviously Andy Cole in a podcast recently was talking about the same sort of thing.
He has an obsession in wanting to fight the centre-half. Don't need to. Yeah. Not in a modern-day game.
I think a lot of it just comes from wanting to impress and just wanting to impose himself on the opposition defenders. But obviously it just comes across as a bit unnecessary, and a lot of the times he just doesn't really need to be doing it. There's room to improve, but that natural physicality that he's got, I just think with coaching and experience, a lot of that will just come naturally to him. And that leads me on then to the work rate and the pressing of him. Because that's another area where his physicality really does come into play. And it's another area which you couldn't really ask for much more from him. Remember that first taste of Premier League action that he got up against Arsenal away from home, and we saw immediately what he could bring in terms of that energy and the ability to battle with defenders. Very different to what happens when Martial and Rashford are up top. He did the same thing when he came on in that cup final, and he gained some valuable territory for United in that game. His pressing has been top, despite being in a largely dysfunctional press that United have used this season. But United have seemingly got someone now willing to battle, willing to fight for those loose balls and win those 50-50s. And it's something that we've really needed now for many seasons. And it's that dirty work and that sort of stuff that has really endeared him to fans. And it no doubt will continue to do that, because it doesn't look as if he's going to give up anytime soon. And now on to my verdict, guys. And to be honest, the Sesko link seems strange, as him and Hojlund are very similar in style, very similar in age, and it just seems strange to have two strikers like that, so similar in your squad. And again, I just don't think that's going to work when they're both battling it out for 13 minutes. I can understand more if United want to bring in someone like Xerxes, who obviously offers something a little bit different, can play multiple positions, and someone who could even offer a partnership with Hojlund at times. And obviously then chop and change in different game states and stuff as well. Just gives you a different option. But in terms of Hojlund, there's no doubt in my mind that while this game obviously is still very raw, especially in that sort of link-up play, But there's no doubting, obviously, there's a lot to work on. But overall, he's had a very, very solid first season. And he's shown traits for me that can really make him a starting striker of the future. And the verdict that I had of him, obviously, when he first joined United, I said then that he's very raw, but he can be United's starting striker if he fulfills that potential for years to come. And nothing has changed my mind. If anything, I'm more optimistic now because of what he's shown this season. I think his finishing has been better than what I thought it was going to be. I think, obviously, in terms of physicality, the running that he shows, the running the channels, things like that, he's shown exactly what you wanted him to. Obviously, there's stuff to work on. I think a lot of it is tactics as well for United. So that's got to be sorted no matter who the manager is. But Hojlund, I'm very optimistic that he can continue to grow and continue to be that starting number 9 for United for years to come now. Let me know what you guys think of him down in the comments down below. Who do you want to partner Hojlund? Obviously, come into this squad now as a striker for next season as well. Let me know down below, guys. And as always, for everything surrounding United, please subscribe for further videos, and I'll see you in the next one.